Imagine for a moment a sarcastic cartoon character winning a parliamentary election
Mhm.
just by, insulting his rebels and mocking the entire political system.
Okay.
Now, picture this. A celebrity businessman, zero political experience, becoming president of a global superpower.
Right.
I mean, these aren't just wild fictional plots, are they? They're actually startling reflections of a huge phenomenon we really need to get our heads around.
And that really is our mission today. We're taking a deep dive into the, let's say, unexpected rise of Donald Trump. Our goal isn't just skimming headlines.
Yeah.
We want to really grasp why. Why did such an unconventional figure connect with and honestly captivate millions of Americans?
Exactly. We've gone through several political analyses, some fascinating historical accounts, basically distilled the key insights for you.
Yeah, shortcut.
It's your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed on what's, undeniably become a pivotal moment in modern history. So get ready for some aha moments, maybe some surprising facts, and probably a few uncomfortable truths. As we unpack a story that reveals, frankly, just as much about America itself as it does about one man.
Okay, so where do we start? This fictional parallel seems like a good entry point.
Yeah, let's begin there with this chillingly accurate fictional precedent. The Black Mirror episode, The Waldo Moment, it came out back in 2013.
Right, Waldo.
The Blue Bear.
That's the one. For anyone unfamiliar, Waldo is this sarcastic animated bear who, kind of surprisingly, decides to run for a seat in the British Parliament.
And what's really fascinating about Waldo's story is how he got popular. It wasn't through, serious policy debate.
Not at all.
No, he actively avoided it. He just insulted his opponents, openly mocked the whole political system. And this approach, it resonated deeply with certain voters.
It's disillusioned ones. Exactly. People who'd lost faith in traditional politicians saw them as just offering empty promises, talking in this, detached, formal way.
Right.
Waldo, though, he spoke street language. And in their eyes, he seemed to be exposing corruption.
And the shocking outcome in the episode. Well, Waldo actually wins. He wins the election.
Which was wild then.
Totally. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Just 3 years after that episode aired, another bear, you could say, effectively won the American presidency.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long before multiple studies, articles, they started drawing direct links between Trump's victory and this Waldo prophecy.
Highlighting how something that started as maybe a cute joke on screen became a kind of live prophecy in reality. It's remarkable.
It really is how fiction seemed to foreshadow events. And Trump's entry into politics, it really did feel almost like a joke at first.
Well, let's go back. February 2011. Trump makes this pretty surprising appearance at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference.
Which is the big one, right? The largest annual gathering for right-wing activists, political figures in the U.S.
That's it. And the organizers apparently were kind of looking for a famous face, someone with conservative leanings.
Yeah.
And they invited him.
And he wasn't just any famous face, was he? This is key. Trump wasn't just a businessman. He was a household name.
The Apprentice.
Exactly. Host of that huge reality show, The Apprentice, author of the bestseller, The Art of the Deal. He had this massive celebrity status that, most politicians could only dream of.
And what truly stands out about that debut appearance is how he immediately grabbed onto controversy. He was apparently quite reserved beforehand, but once on stage, boom.
He threw a hot joke, as one source put it.
Yeah, he publicly embraced that baseless, racially charged rumor that President Barack Obama was born in Kenya, not the U.S. The birther thing.
Now, this birther rumor, it had been lurking on the fringes, right? Internet blogs, yellow journalism.
Yeah, the kind of stuff serious politicians wouldn't touch.
Exactly. Lack of evidence, potential career ender. Yet, Trump leans right into it, and the reaction, hysterical applause, apparently. It gave the rumor this zest and power it didn't have before.
So what does that tell us? About the frustrations brewing maybe in a certain part of the electorate back then?
That's a huge question because it signals a real shift. This act, it made Trump shine in the eyes of voters who felt perhaps overlooked or unheard.
Right, it was like a signal.
Yeah, it signaled to a specific group, hey, this guy seems like us, maybe a bit racist like us, and he could be president. It really appealed to rural working class voters.
And the Tea Party.
And the Tea Party movement, absolutely. That powerful grassroots conservative force that popped up in 2009. They were all about opposing government intervention, immigration, and basically obstructing Obama.
So Obama's response was, well, predictable but necessary. The White House officially released Obama's long-form birth certificate from Hawaii.
Right, and Obama himself urged people, let's focus on real issues.
But Trump, being Trump,
Total showman. He immediately claimed victory, said his efforts forced Obama's hand, but still cast doubt on the certificate's authenticity, publicly suggested it might not be valid or could even be fraudulent.
unbelievable. And what happened next? Well, it proved to be a pretty critical moment in this whole story.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner, April 2011.
Yeah, Obama delivers this, 2-minute stand-up routine, basically, right at Trump's expense.
Mocking him.
Totally mocking his obsession with conspiracy theories, fake moon landing, aliens, you name it, joked about him turning the White House into a casino or a golf course.
And Trump's in the audience.
Sitting right there, reportedly left early, didn't say a word.
And here's where that turning point theory really kicks in. Many believe this public humiliation, that specific moment, was critical for Trump. It solidified his decision to seriously go for the presidency.
Is that when he registered the slogan?
That's exactly when. Make America Great Again, which of course was famously used by Ronald Reagan back in the 80s. A very calculated choice, perhaps, linking himself to a conservative icon.
Okay, so fast forward to 2015. Trump officially announces he's running for president. And, it was widely seen as a joke, right?
Right, completely. Not just by rivals, but even within the Republican Party itself. Sources say there was an audible ha-ha reaction.
And yet, he starts winning.
Yeah.
Gradually, against this huge field of Republican primary candidates.
How? Using tactics that, looking back, seem very, well, Waldo-like.
Yeah, relentless insults, direct attacks, striking, as one source vividly put it, below the belt, above the belt, and with the belt buckle.
Wow.
This unconventional, almost cartoonish approach, just filled with aggressive rhetoric.
Yeah.
It eventually made him the Republican nominee against Hillary Clinton.
And what's really striking here is that Trump was the first presidential candidate in, well, modern history with zero prior government or political experience.
Right. While career politicians are climbing through Congress, the Senate, building party ranks, studying polls,
Trump was literally firing employees on a reality show.
his main political tool, arguably, became his Twitter account.
So Clinton's campaign, how did they respond?
They focused on painting him as an unhinged, erratic clown, unfit for the presidency, particularly highlighting the whole nuclear codes concern.
The idea he could start a war.
Exactly, that potential world-ending scenario. But despite that narrative, we have to acknowledge the deeper reality of his support. Trump undeniably had, and still has, genuine popularity.
And it's incredible, isn't it, how that loyalty has stuck through everything. The man consistently pulls massive vote counts.
Even in 2020 when he lost to Biden.
Right, 74 million votes. That's 47% of the total, the second highest ever for any presidential candidate. This fierce loyalty, sometimes compared to occult leaders, it tells you he's not just a joke.
No.
Or some historical mistake. He is a phenomenon that must be understood. Even if you see him as a clown, his impact is massive for America and, frankly, for the world.
So who is Donald Trump, really? The man behind this phenomenon? Well, born June 14th, 1946, Brooklyn, New York, second son of Fred Trump, the real estate mogul.
And grandson of Friedrich Trump, a German immigrant who built his own fortune, apparently from real estate, and some reports say shady deals.
Donald was raised in an evangelical environment. And in that world, financial success was often seen as a kind of sign of God's acceptance.
Interesting. And influences.
A key one was Norman Vincent Peale's book, The Power of Positive Thinking. Taught him to always see himself as successful, to basically deny failure. You're a winner no matter what.
And his father's influence. Sounds pretty harsh.
Very stark worldview. The world is divided into monsters or victims. For one to win, someone else must lose. Which you can imagine cultivated this really aggressive, almost bullying approach from early on.
And that aggression led to him being sent away.
Yeah, due to that behavior, his father sent him to a strict military boarding school. And there, apparently, he learned not just to be a bully, but to become the leader of the bullies. He mastered what's called the art of shrewdness, navigating this sort of masculine competitive world. Teachers sometimes seen as monsters. He learned, okay, respect authority, but never show weakness.
Because that makes you pray.
Exactly.
Right.
It reinforced this idea that to be strong, to meet the family's expectations, this idea that a successful businessman needs a killer instinct. You had to use bullying as a weapon.
There's also the tragic story of his older brother, Fred Jr.
Yeah, that casts a long shadow. Fred Jr. struggled hugely to meet their father's harsh standards, turned to alcohol, drugs,
Yeah.
sadly died at just 40.
And the impact on Donald.
It seems complex. Genuine sadness, sure, but also this hardening conviction that his brother was, in his eyes, a loser. A fate Donald was absolutely determined to avoid. It really paints a picture, doesn't it? The pressure, the cutthroat worldview shaping him so young.
It really does. A clear foundation being laid. So after graduating from UPenn, he starts building his empire, kicks off with a simple $1 million loan from his dad.
Simple. Right. From that start, he eventually grew his fortune to, estimates vary, but around $4.6 billion. His focus early on, the 70s, was Manhattan.
Which was a tough time for the city.
A really bleak period, high crime, bankruptcy. But he saw it differently. Increased risk in hard times means opportunities for increased rewards. He saw it as a jungle, and he thrived there.
He was also apparently quite charismatic.
Described as handsome, yeah, even like Robert Redford, captivating, which helped him build friendships easily with the wealthy, politicians, celebrities, but maybe his most crucial partnership.
Roy Cohn.
Roy Cohn, a notorious figure, a mafia lawyer in New York, known for incredibly aggressive, intimidating tactics, almost like someone from Sons of Anarchy in his legal approach.
And this relationship was key for Trump.
Probably his most important. Cohn became like a second father, teaching him these ruthless methods. Trump apparently used Cohn's name all the time as leverage.
And Cohn delivered results.
Big time. He helped Trump secure a massive $400 million tax reduction over 40 years for his very first major project, turning the old Commodore Hotel into the Grand Hyatt.
Then came Trump Tower, which, construction-wise, was maybe ordinary.
But Trump's sales instincts were anything but ordinary. He marketed it as way more than just a building, even spread a rumor the Queen of England wanted to rent an apartment there.
Did she?
Who knows? But the rumor alone drove up prices immensely. Classic Trump, turning speculation into gold.
So what happened when his deals got challenged? Like with the mayor?
Right. A new NYC mayor questioned his tax break. Trump's response: a public onslaught, called the mayor foolish, talentless, just relentless insults.
And with Cohn's help.
He not only won the legal fight, but got a new tax break.
Yeah.
His father reportedly said he was like King Midas. After that, he expanded beyond real estate into casinos, built or bought 3, including the famous Taj Mahal.
And then came the book, The Art of the Deal. Not his idea initially.
No, it was journalist Tony Schwartz who suggested it. Share his business expertise. Trump hired Schwartz as a ghostwriter, but insisted it be published under his own name.
And it was huge.
Massive success. Transformed him from just a New York developer into a national brand. An icon of American success.
There's that example of his deal-making from 1988.
Oh yeah, convincing the activist Mike Dunbar he was going to announce a presidential run, then pulling out last minute.
Just a stunt.
Purely a calculated marketing stunt for the book.
Oh.
It perfectly embodied the art of the deal. The book people often compare to Machiavelli's The Prince.
And his own philosophy, he summed it up pretty bluntly back in '81.
He did. I'm Donald Trump and I'm a machine. I'm a killer. His core belief, then and now, seems to be, nothing matters but the deal.
But hang on, it wasn't all smooth sailing, right? The Midas touch didn't last forever.
Not at all. Despite that image, he made a series of what were widely called stupid deals, which eventually led to all his casinos going bankrupt.
How much debt are we talking?
Nearly $1 billion. Literally, on paper, poorer than any homeless person walking the street.
And yet he kept denying failure.
Absolutely. Famously denied it, even as the media that had built him up suddenly turned on him. Made him the most hated person in America, especially after reports of infidelity surfaced.
But then came the comeback, saved by media again.
Exactly. Specifically television. In 2004, The Apprentice premiered. Ran for 8 seasons, hugely profitable.
And his role on the show cemented that image, didn't it?
Totally. The decisive, ruthless CEO. Famous for that catchphrase.
You're fired!
Iconic. And the show's whole ethos was this cutthroat competition where, as one source put it, any means of winning were allowed, no matter how unethical. He painted New York as that jungle again.
Where only the strongest and fiercest survive, echoing his father's lesson.
Right. Survivors are killers. And a study, interestingly titled From Apprentice to President, argued that the show created these indelible bonds between Trump and millions of Americans.
Projecting him as strong, decisive, intelligent.
An icon of American success who could always bounce back. The study flat out concluded, without The Apprentice, Trump would not have become president, making him arguably the first U.S. president to get there mainly as a celebrity. an anti-hero.
And this anti-hero thing, it's not just theory. It keeps playing out even now. Like that mugshot example.
Oh, that's striking. August 2023, after 91 criminal charges. You'd think that image would destroy a politician.
For anyone else, probably.
But for him, it became this symbol of defiance. Raised $9.5 million for his campaign through merchandise featuring the mugshot. His popularity actually jumped over 50 points in some polls afterwards.
It's completely counterintuitive.
It really is, and it links to this broader cultural trend, right? A 2022 research paper, The Age of Anti-Heroes, suggests American culture is just obsessed with the anti-hero.
Like movie villains.
Yeah, figures like Pablo Escobar, the Joker, Don Corleone. Trump with his charisma, his rule-breaking communication style, humor, even his perceived unethical flair. He fits that mold for many, a fearless movie villain.
So this fascination, it has roots not just in fiction, but in real people who influenced his political playbook.
Absolutely. His inspiration came not just from movies, but directly from figures like Jesse Ventura. Remember him?
The wrestler turned governor.
Exactly. Former wrestler, elected governor of Minnesota in 1998, zero political experience. Ventura famously insulted opponents, attacked journalists for free publicity, solidified that anti-hero status.
And Trump met him.
He did. Traveled to meet Ventura, not really to congratulate him, but as the source says, to understand how he did it, to learn his propaganda plans.
Which Trump then used himself.
Applied them to the letter, apparently, but on a massive national scale. It was a masterclass in political performance art, learned from a wrestler.
Okay, let's pivot slightly and try to decode his actual ideology, this America First idea, because it was pretty radical, even for Republicans.
Oh, definitely. Traditionally, the GOP, yeah, conservative, but not usually extreme on things like trade. They generally favored free trade, low tariffs.
But Trump comes in.
And proposes things like huge tariffs on Chinese cars, directly opposing that free trade consensus. And on immigration, well, the GOP always talked about it, Trump's approach was just unprecedentedly aggressive.
Calling Muslims terrorists, Latinos criminals and rapists, proposing the wall.
Things the party establishment historically would never be so brazen about saying publicly towards minorities.
He also went after the whole post-Cold War setup, didn't he?
Fundamentally challenged it. After the Cold War, both parties, more or less, backed this global system. Free trade, U.S. as the leader.
The sole superpower.
Right. Trump's America First rhetoric directly attacked that. He argued the U.S. shouldn't be the global leader, shouldn't defend allies unless they pay their share.
Like NATO?
Exactly. He advocated pulling out of trade deals, climate agreements, canceling the Iran nuclear deal. It was a message aimed not just at foreign adversaries, but at traditional allies, and even, really, at his own Republican Party.
Which brings us to this deeper thing, this American identity crisis that his campaign seemed to surface.
Yeah, at this moment of, like, historical defiance, his run brought back this ancient question going way back to the Founding Fathers. Who is America?
Is it primarily a nation of white Protestant European immigrants? Or is it this vibrant melting pot embracing all races, all cultures?
And his election, you could argue, represented a kind of white America's denial of the ongoing changes, cultural, social, demographic.
The numbers are stark, aren't they?
They are. Over the last 50 years, over 60 million immigrants came from Central America, Asia, other places. White Protestants dropped from 51% of the population in 2007 to 40% in 2023, projected minority by 2045.
And Obama's election in 2008.
As the first black president, yeah, that further highlighted the decline of the historical control white Protestants had always held over the presidency.
Now, here's that paradox again. Despite his personal life, the divorces, affairs, casinos, lawsuits, not exactly aligning with traditional Christian values.
His biggest support base came from religiously devout evangelical Christians. How does that work?
It seems like a mutual benefit was perceived. A prominent pastor, Jerry Falwell Jr., actually encouraged his followers to vote Trump because they needed a shrewd leader, someone tough enough to, quote, bring them to the ground. Meaning someone aggressive enough to challenge and dismantle the institutions they saw as corrupt or failing. Which raises that tricky question. Trump's rhetoric, especially on race, was it deep conviction or just pragmatism?
Well, Mohammed El-Minshawi's book, Trump First, makes an interesting argument. If Trump were racist by conviction, could he really have succeeded in the super diverse worlds of New York business and entertainment?
Probably not. You'd likely get canceled, as they say.
Exactly. But politics, especially modern politics, the argument goes, is a different game, where, bluntly, this kind of racism is in high demand.
So Trump, the pragmatic businessman.
Simply saw an opening, capitalized on the anxieties and fears of the white majority, particularly Southern Christians. His racism from this view wasn't belief, it was a winning card for his political interests.
The source even suggests if supporting minorities won elections, he'd have.
Transformed into a black Buddhist human rights activist. It sounds cynical, but it points back to what Tony Schwartz, the ghostwriter, concluded after all those hours with him.
He believes in nothing in life but the deal.
And you see that fluidity in his past stances, right? His 2016 anti-abortion, pro-gun positions. They were the same policies Mitt Romney ran on in 2012.
Which Trump back then called foolish for alienating minorities.
Exactly. And back in 2000, when he thought about running for the Reform Party, he accused their candidate of racism. It's adaptable. Ironically, his 2016 campaign was partly shaped by a 1999 book, A Republic, Not an Empire, pushing for an inward-looking America.
The book he famously claimed praised Hitler.
That's the one, a false claim he repeated until many believed it. But the book's core message definitely resonated with his base.
Okay, this complex mix of identity and global strategy leads us to another nuanced question. From researcher Mohammed Naeem, is America an empire or imperialist?
Yeah, these sound similar, but they represent two really distinct, almost conflicting visions for the country's role.
So, Imperial America, that's the traditional view.
Pretty much. Supported by traditional Republicans and also Democrats favoring soft intervention, it sees Washington as the capital of this vast global empire.
The U.S. as the center of the world.
Right. Deploying the military globally, protecting the financial system, promoting free trade, seeing other nations as basically good or rogue.
Okay, so how does imperialist America, Trump's vision, differ?
It's a stark contrast. Trump clearly articulated this view. Washington is only the capital of America, a nation with clear borders, a defined identity rooted primarily in, well, white Protestant supremacy.
So the U.S. isn't a global policeman.
Exactly. It's not a superhero or a genie. If it acts globally, it demands its commission. It's about American interests, trade, goods, and workers come first. Not alliances like NATO, not abstract principles of justice.
This nationalistic inward focus, it wasn't new, but he was the first president to really voice it openly.
Pretty much. It was always there in some form, but never articulated so bluntly from the Oval Office.
And now both these visions face serious problems, right?
They do. Imperial America is struggling, can't easily enforce its vision against powers like China, Russia, Iran, plus the economic costs, Iraq, Afghanistan, the 2008 recession. And its support for Israel in Gaza, one source argues, has spoiled its human rights image.
And imperialist America.
It's chasing a past that doesn't really exist anymore. The demographics have fundamentally changed. White population heading towards minority status, already not a majority on Netflix, as the source joked.
So this extreme shift threatens the global system the U.S. itself built.
It absolutely does. It's a fundamental clash.
Yeah.
Is America a global protector with ideals, or basically a business focused only on its own bottom line?
So how did all this connect emotionally with the average voter back on the ground?
Well, Trump has this really unique ability, apparently, to evoke both happiness and anger simultaneously in his audiences.
Which other politicians didn't really manage. Reagan, Bush, Obama.
Not in the same way. And anger, even though it's negative, it's proactive. It makes people act, often boldly. His supporters consistently described him as funny, authentic, speaking from the heart.
And a big chunk of that support came from anger, maybe despair, came to the Democratic Party.
A huge part, yes. Historically, the Democrats were the party of the white working class. But over time, they shifted focus towards wealthier, more educated people, towards identity politics.
And the impact was measurable.
Absolutely. Two-thirds of white voters without college degrees, traditionally Democratic voters, went for Trump in 2016. Think about it. Since 1996, around 30 million Americans lost jobs due to free trade, manufacturing moving overseas.
And the Democrats?
It's argued they completely disconnected from those working-class rural concerns, prioritizing things like environmental protection, sometimes at the cost of jobs, like destroying the coal industry without compensating workers.
Which explains those swing states flipping. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin.
Exactly. Traditionally, blue states turned red for Trump in 2016.
What's also surprising, though, is the minority support he got. That seems counterintuitive given his rhetoric.
It does, and it's often overlooked. Many minorities, even some who'd backed Obama, felt a real disconnect from Hillary Clinton.
Saw her as a rich white woman married to a former president.
Yeah, the feeling was, this woman does not represent us. And instead, some were drawn to, as Courses put it, the cute, orange-haired man.
Like 53% of white women voted Trump, despite the misogyny accusations.
Because he talked about defending family values, promised jobs for them and their husbands. And Latino voters, 29%, supporting Trump, despite the insults, the wall talk.
Why?
Partly it's explained by fear among some established immigrants that new arrivals might take their place. Also, his conservative talk on family values, his anti-socialist stance that appealed to some Latinos from countries that suffered under socialism or communism.
And black voters.
Only 8% supported Trump in 2016, which sounds low, but it was actually the highest for a Republican since George W. Bush in 2000, and it rose to 12% in 2020.
What does that signal?
Maybe a growing independence among younger black voters from the Democratic Party, a feeling that the Democrats kind of take their vote for granted.
So after exploring all this, the big question remains, was Trump really a savior for these voters feeling left behind?
It's a tough question. Many angry voters, maybe earning less than $50,000, backed him. But did they fully realize his policies, trade barriers, gutting Obamacare, easing environmental rules, big tax cuts for the wealthy could actually harm them long-term through higher prices, inflation?
And his presidency undeniably led to huge divisions.
The greatest division America has ever seen, many sources claim. Plus, there's the record for, well, alleged lying average of 8 times a day cited by some media trackers, and that truly alarming threat to kill 25 million people by nuking North Korea.
Author Maggie Haberman noted his business tactics never changed when he became president.
Right. Swift attacks on critics, easy use of lies, blaming others, distracting from real issues. That was his MO in business, and it stayed his MO in the White House.
But that works differently for a country, doesn't it? Especially globally.
Absolutely. Unlike a one-off business deal, nations have collective memory. You insult or harm another country's interests, it doesn't just pass. International relations, it's not a reality show you can just change the channel on.
Yeah.
There are real, lasting consequences.
So, ultimately, maybe Trump isn't the root cause.
That's what Professor Noel Maurer suggests, insightfully, I think. Trump is more a symptom of American democracy's ailments, not the cause itself.
Yeah.
He's not some anomaly or exception.
He just said out loud what people were already thinking.
Exactly. He simply voiced what millions of Americans were thinking, especially in that unseen America, the less educated, those outside the bubbles of Hollywood or Silicon Valley. He tapped into anxieties that were already simmering.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean for the bigger American story? Trump seems to embody this deep-seated narrative, almost like a Scorsese film character.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. A blend of the dream of wealth, total self-belief, the idea that absolutely everything can be a deal, and that stark worldview of predators and victims. He's described as an empty suit, maybe, a template for a specific kind of American hero that resonates with some.
And this division in society, the winners and losers thing, it's been growing since Reagan.
That's the argument. Society got sharply divided, and the government, instead of supporting the losers, often seemed to punish them, leading to poverty, lack of services. Even subsequent Democratic presidents, it's argued, didn't really reverse that trend.
So the American dream itself became focused purely on wealth.
For over a century, yeah. Perpetuating these toxic myths that blame individuals for being poor, even when it's tied to government policies.
And this erosion of faith, it led to Trump, someone whose only faith is in the deal.
It seems connected. That old, powerful Redeemer Nation narrative, the idea America had this divine mission to spread freedom and democracy by force if needed, that dominated for generations.
But it got shaken.
Profoundly shaken after 9/11. The wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, where the Taliban came back after 20 years. The 2008 recession. This loss of faith in the Redeemer idea paved the way for someone like Trump.
So the Waldo moment prophecy, it really did come true in a way.
It feels like it. Politics transformed into a kind of cartoon, a circus, pure entertainment. You even see AI videos now of candidates dancing. Real debate gets lost in jokes that can become, well, nightmares.
Like January 6th.
The source points directly to the January 6th Capitol attack as that real-world warning, a tragic culmination, a refusal to accept the bear's loss, just like in the Waldo story.
So this deep dive, it really shows how history, economic anxiety, cultural shifts, that they all converge to elect someone who completely broke the political mold.
Which leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it?
It does. What does it mean for a society when its political leadership seems to embody a purely transactional approach, prioritizing the deal above all else? And how might that reshape the foundations of a nation that was, at least aspirationally, once defined by its ideals? That's definitely something to mull over long after this deep dive ends.